Embark on a weekly adventure with our curated story showcase. Brace yourself for the best and most shareable moments online. Your ticket to internet excellence is here. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for getting angry with my girlfriend and demanding she pay to replace my sheets after she got blood on them? I, male 26, have been dating my girlfriend, female 24, for about a year now, and we recently moved in together. She didn't have a lot of furniture and such, so it's mostly mine in our apartment, including my bed, frame, mattress, sheets. I am a bit of a neat freak, and she generally is too, so we get along pretty well living together. Now, I'm not one of those guys that gets grossed out over a woman having her menstrual cycle. I've had spicy time with my girlfriend on lighter days with a towel down. I'll go buy her feminine products. I don't get weirded out if she mentions it. I will say, though, it totally grosses me out getting on my bed, though. Well, a few days ago, when we woke up, I noticed a blood spot on the bed and got totally grossed out. I knew she had been on her period for 3 days already, so it wasn't any sort of surprise accident. I asked how it happened, and she was upset and said she thought she didn't need to sleep with anything on. I told her that was absurd. Why would you go without wearing anything and get blood all over my bed? I told her that was irresponsible and that she needed to pay me for new sheets. She agreed to pay for new sheets, but got upset with me for getting angry and calling her irresponsible. She said that she likes to not wear anything when she can. She said she thought her flow was light and she wouldn't bleed overnight. She says I have no reason to be angry and talk down to her over something I don't experience. I said that she should have been more careful with where we sleep and that it was unhygienic. Am I the a-hole for getting upset and wanting her to pay? She did ruin the sheets, the fact that she should at least pitch in for new sheets if you're in a relationship. That part I can understand. I mean, it would be like, if some other bodily fluid of yours got on there. I'm not going to get into details. And they were ruined and you needed to pitch in for new ones. That part I can understand. Maybe a little over the top about this. Maybe letting your personal feelings about, menstrual blood on the sheets kind of grossing you out. Maybe not getting so angry about it. Just realize, hey, it happens. It kind of happens sometimes. I like to be neat, and you seem to like it too. Maybe just be a little calmer about it. I'd say, I don't know, quarter of an a-hole. Quarter of an a-hole, maybe tipping up to half of an a-hole to be this upset about this little thing, considering the fact that she's willing to pitch in money to replace them. Story 2. Try to steal our $400 security deposit by being a jerk? Fine. Now you can pay us $1,300. So this story takes place like 5 years ago when my husband and I were broke college students with a young baby. We worked hard to afford our awful little duplex, $600 a month, and necessities, while trying to finish our degrees to one day get ahead. Our duplex was one in an entire neighborhood owned by a large company and managed by a super sketchy married couple who lived on the same street. Before our kid was born, we did the normal excited new parent thing of painting his nursery and decorating, blah, blah. Our lease stated we needed permission to paint, which we obtained from the property manager, the husband of the couple. He insists it would be fine. He insisted. And being young and naive, we didn't get it in writing because he was so chill about it. So we paint and move on with our lives. A little while later, our lease was up, and we had given notice to vacate as we were moving closer to my husband's school. The property manager was understanding, everything was fine, and we scheduled our move-out inspection. Prior to this inspection, we specifically asked him for the name of the paint color we needed to use when repainting the nursery. He flat out refused to give it, saying it was unnecessary to paint because we'd been there so long they'd be painting the whole duplex anyway. Okay, cool. Move-out inspection day comes, and goes. We left the house in better shape than we found it, aside from a small area of torn carpet right along a seam in a doorway. The property manager inspected and said everything looked great, and we should get our whole deposit, $400 back, minus a few bucks for the torn carpet. Sounds good, boss. Enter a period of weeks where we waited and waited for our deposit, eventually leaving messages upon messages with false promises or no return calls at all. Eventually, over a month later, this culminated in a phone call with the property manager where he said, and I remember this almost verbatim, I don't know what you were so worried about anyway. It's only like $200 you're getting back. He cited the painted nursery and the huge mess left behind as deductions, and I coldly informed him we'd be going to court because we didn't feel we owed for those reasons. The place was spotless when we left, aside from the 6-pack of beer we left him in the fridge for being chill. Not 1 hour later, he called back, and miraculously, our refund check had just shown up in the mail. Already knowing he was trying to deal with us, I can't say that word, we installed a recording app on my phone, one-party consent state, and went to the office. The check indeed was only for $200 for our deposit, and included no list of what they charged for us for, important detail. We intentionally goaded him into admitting that he had told us not to paint and that the house looked great on move-out. And we went on our happy way, revenge plan already unfolding. We didn't cash the check, and instead emailed the CEO of the entire property company, copying in the property manager and detailing the entire process. The CEO sent back a smart guy email with a cute little typed up list of deductions, including all the things we were specifically told we wouldn't be on the hook for. A fun detail was that even by his own math, they owed us $230 of our deposit. No one really had an answer for why they then tried to issue a check for $200, but whatever. Choke was on him, because we began digging through all the state regulations on security deposits and refunds, hoping to prove that our length of stay meant he couldn't charge us for wear and tear things like carpet cleaning, etc. And in our search, we instead happened upon a statute requiring landlords to return security deposit refunds and an itemized list of deductions within 30 days, or lose the right to withhold for actual damages and be subject to treble damages, or be subject to damages if the landlord is thought to be maliciously withholding the refund. So we typed up a demand letter for our entire security deposit, citing the statute, which he had broken because we didn't receive any refund offer or itemized list until 6 weeks later. And when he sent us a smart guy reply, we filed in small claims court for our entire deposit, plus, again, this is where treble damages and court costs. I don't know what treble means in that. Now, I don't know if it's clear at this point, but I can be really fracking petty if I feel like someone is trying to frack with me. And it was clear this guy made a career out of stealing money from low-income renters who likely could never afford to fight it. I was ticked. I spent the next month before our court date compiling all email correspondence in which he'd fracked himself over numerous times by providing written documentation that he exceeded time limits, charged incorrect amounts, etc. I also compiled phone records showing dozens and dozens of unanswered and unreturned calls to the property manager and detailed accounts I'd made immediately after hanging up on lies from the property manager. I printed out a screenshot from the company's own website detailing the CEO's role as the legal advisor, so I could innocently claim, shouldn't he have known the statutes for these issues? I printed all the relevant statutes and highlighted the important parts. And then I made 3 fracking copies of everything and nicely compiled each in a binder complete with sleeve protectors and page numbers, one for our own reference, one for the butthole property manager and or CEO, we weren't sure who would show up, and one for the judge himself. We also took our handy little recording of the property manager admitting to all the smeg he lied about and then pretended to have never said. Needless to say, the judge laughed at how prepared we were, asked if we were law students, and then awarded us treble damages and court fees as well as interest. I will never forget the CEO's face when we looked over and smiled at him. All his a-hole emails and disregard for the law were on the table, and rather than give us the original $350 or so we were promised from our deposit, he ended up paying us over $1,300 a month later. It was glorious. Well, I hope you're more up to date with where you're living now, and make sure you know all of the statutes, and I'm sure you're going to have a better time with your landlord this time. It's amazing how these people that are providing services for people are just taking such blatant advantage. It's awful. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for tolerating a night out with my girlfriend? Earlier this year, I gifted my girlfriend, 33 female, tickets to a concert that she really wanted to go to that was this past Friday night. I'm 36 male, not a fan of her music, nor the fact that this concert was in the city, but I wanted to make it a great gift. She was elated when I told her that I bought the VIP package, meet and greet, pictures with the band, etc. Last week, my girlfriend began asking if we had to get to the venue early. Being the thorough, detailed person that she is, I assured her I would check. Instead, I was too busy with work. Honestly, it was getting a bit annoying that almost every few days she would ask, so I told her I didn't see anything while deleting a bunch of emails from the venue for concerts I don't even care about. On Friday afternoon, she told me that she had tried looking things up and was only finding that the doors opened at 7. With that, I picked her up at 6 and arrived at the venue for 7. Once inside, she showed security our tickets and asked about the meet and greet. The bouncer informed us that the VIP was at 6. I froze. Now my girlfriend turns to me, asking if I received any kind of emails. The tickets were in my name. I told her that I deleted emails, and she seemed to understand. I actually really enjoyed the whole time, so once her band set ended, we decided to not stay for the last band. And this is where the trouble began. It's 10 p.m. We're outside of the venue, and she suggests we go to a bar a block away and either walk or ride share. Immediately, I said there was not a chance. She mentioned that my car was in a secured lot and we wouldn't be far. But I lost my cool, which I admit was not the best way to go about things, and told her, "You don't go out in the city. There is crime all over the place." She responded that we were in the city. I went off how I can't stand it here, so she said that we'll just leave. No raising of her voice. She just said she was fine with leaving. She was silent all the way back, and I suggested that we go back to my place to finish out the night, and she refused. This also ticked me off because I asked what was wrong with the bar next to the apartment, and she shut that down with her short responses. Overall, the night cost me over $300, and while she's saying more to me now as opposed to Friday night, she's being very distant. She told me she could live with not going to the meet and greet, except for how things turned out afterwards, and that is where the disappointment truly set in. My response was that I was only bringing her to the concert, nowhere else, and thinking of her safety. She continued that I shouldn't have brought the tickets if I was only tolerating doing so. I do accept that I made some mistakes, chiefly with making us miss the meet and greet. The timing of the concert should have made this an unforgettable experience since her grandmother just passed away. Am I the a-hole? I'm going to say yes. You knew this was an important band for her, and you arranged for the VIP package. You should have taken some care into looking at when the meet and greet was. I realize that you may not be as detail-oriented as your girlfriend, but this was a band she liked. This was important to her, and it's really amazing that she was okay with not having the meet and greet. That was part of it. It's the overall emotion, it's the overall attitude that you had that continued on with that really let her down. She was really ecstatic about this. She wanted, you were taking her there. She really was glad that you were with her and in some way wanted you to be a part of it. Yeah, you are kind of the a-hole for not taking a little more interest in at least the details of the event you paid this money for that you were mentioning in the article. Yes. I can understand why she's upset. Yeah, and now she's speaking up about it. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for leaving a fake positive pregnancy test in the bedroom to catch my husband's mom snooping? My mother-in-law moved in with us a month ago. I began to notice my stuff in the bedroom being touched, furniture rearranged, stuff moved, etc. I felt like I was going crazy because my husband is the only one who has access to the bedroom, and he usually doesn't touch nor come near my things. I figured it must be his mom walking in and snooping on my personal things. I told my husband, and he said his mom would never. I had a huge hunch, but couldn't install a cam in the bedroom to catch her in the act. So I got me one of those fake positive pregnancy tests and threw it in the bedroom's trash can. Note, the trash can was placed in the corner near the closet. Literally, the next day, after I got to work, I got tons of calls and texts from my in-laws congratulating me for my pregnancy. My husband came over to my workplace and was all worked up about it, asking since when was I pregnant and why I didn't tell him. I asked how he found out, and he said his mom found the positive test in the trash can in the bedroom. I asked if his answer just confirmed that she's been snooping in the bedroom all along. He had a realization moment, but demanded we stick to the bigger issue. I said there was no bigger issue because the positive test was fake, and this whole thing was done to expose my mother-in-law's snooping. He was not convinced. He had me take an actual test right in front of him, and he was livid, asking how could I lie about such a thing and break his mom's heart since I know very well that she longs for kids. I got a lot of smeg because of this from him. His mom and family now calling me a liar and a manipulator. Am I the a-hole? She's snooping around your stuff. They're liars. The mother-in-law is a liar and a manipulator too. She found in the trash can a pregnancy test. She's looking for that much dirt. How is he? Well, it's his mom. He's probably blind to that kind of reaction from him. I'd say stick to your guns. And if you were going to do something like this on your own, I would say put it up to the husband and say, look, I'll get a fake pregnancy test. I'll throw it in the trash can. You say nothing to your mom. And if she finds out and spreads the word, it'll confirm. I don't think the husband is sticking to the issue here. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for pulling my daughter from a water park trip because her teacher made her stay with a kid she doesn't like? My daughter, Bryn, female 9, is going on a trip to a nearby water park with her class next week. She loves water and has been talking about it for months, so I was a bit thrown off when she came home crying a few days ago and told me she didn't want to go. I asked her why, and she said she wouldn't tell me because she thought I'd think she's a bad person. When I finally coaxed it out of her, she said her teacher, Ms. N, has forced her to be the buddy of her classmate, Ben, for the entirety of the trip. She was to ride the bus with Ben, to and from the trip, eat lunch with him, and go on all the rides with him instead of spending time with her friends. She then said nobody likes Ben because he whines whenever they have to do work and picks his nose and wipes boogers everywhere. I was horrified, not only because Miss N has made Bryn do such a thing, but also because she has made her believe she was a bad person for not wanting to. Unfortunately, this wasn't my first experience with Ms. N, as she frequently used my soft-spoken, intelligent older daughter as a behavior buffer for the naughty boys until I threatened to report her to the superintendent. It's clear to me that Ms. N is still too comfortable with enforcing archaic gender roles on her kids and forcing girls to do unpaid emotional labor for the sake of the boys. I immediately sent Miss N an email condemning her actions. She sent me back an email with a bunch of hogwash that basically ended with, "If Bryn goes on the trip, she has to be Ben's buddy." Fine. I informed her Bryn would not be attending then. I immediately booked VIP tickets the same day her class was going so she could still go to the park and see her friends. What happens next, I wasn't expecting. Bryn is quite popular, so I've gotten to know a lot of the moms in her class. When I let them know what Ms. N did, some of them were so horrified that they also pulled their kids out of the trip. In total, 8 kids out of a class of 20 are either not going or going with us. Today, I got an email from Ms. N saying that because almost half the class isn't going, they either have to raise the cost for the other students or not go at all. She practically begged me to let Bryn go and tell all the other parents to let their kids go, promising she wouldn't make Bryn do anything she didn't want to do. I told her she should have thought about that before she tried to make my daughter do her job. My husband said I was being a bit petty and that Ms. N clearly feels bad about what she did, and I should let Bryn go as I've already gotten my way. He asked me if I really wanted to deprive children of what they've been waiting for all year. The thing is, if this wasn't Ms. N's first offense, I probably would have agreed. But she has a pattern of this type of behavior, and hopefully this will put a stop to it. Plus, if she has to explain this to her superiors, I have receipts. Is my husband right, or am I justified? Kind of halfway right. I mean, forcing this girl to be this little creep's friend for the trip is like bad. It's really awful. But you are depriving a whole bunch of other kids a water park trip, and not just Bryn and her friends. It really does kind of make you look like you're above it all, and the kids, and like your daughter and the ones that you're going with, are above this whole trip, and you are kind of ruining it for everyone. You kind of have the a-hole here. There should be some compromise, and I'm really believing you. I do believe that Ms. N is not going to change her behavior after she gets an okay from you to let Bryn go on this trip. It's very hard, the position that you're in. It's not just cut and dried now. I hope you can find a compromise. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for asking my fiancé to not wear his brother's necklace on our wedding day? He wears his late brother's wedding ring on his right hand and his brother's necklace. I can get behind the ring because you don't really notice it as much, but the necklace is more noticeable. It has his brother's wife, and their daughter's initials engraved on it. I asked him if he'd take off the necklace just for our wedding day. I also have a necklace I got as a gift from my mom that I'm not wearing on the day because it doesn't go with my dress. It's just one day, and he can wear the ring if he wants. My fiancé refused and said it's his brother's and he's going to wear it. Is your mother still alive? And maybe it's just for one day. Maybe you can compromise and wear it tucked under the suit? It's a brother that was seemingly very dear to him that has passed away and wants that memory with him on this special day. And I don't think it's too much of a thing to keep the necklace on. If you're fine with the ring, I think you should be fine with the necklace. This is part of his family. Story 2. My always late ex-friend made us 30 minutes late to a surprise birthday party, so I sent her to an expensive restaurant with an empty gift card to prove a point. A few years ago, I, 22 female, had a friend, Alex, 24 female, who was always late. She was also the kind of person who would tell you, "I'm on the way," when she was not, in fact, on her way. That one trait of hers caused me quite a lot of inconvenience. One time, we were both invited to a surprise birthday party for our mutual friend. Clearly written on the invitation was something along the lines of, "Be sure to arrive at 6 p.m. Do not be late, or you will miss the surprise." Come the day of the party, she and I had agreed to meet at my house and drive over together. Around 5 p.m., I asked her when she would be at my place. She told me that she would be there around 5:30, which was great because the party was about 30 minutes away. At 5:30, I called her to ask where she was, and she told me she had not even left yet. She then promised that she would be there in 5 minutes. I figured that was okay because she lived fairly close by. Long story short, she ended up getting to my house at 6. I was mad. We had left immediately and made it to the party around 6:30. By that time, the surprise had obviously taken place and the party was in full swing. I mentioned to her that I was really bothered that she had been late. Not only that, but she had strung me along and lied to me and prevented me from being on time. She responded by saying things like, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal," and "We were only 30 minutes late," and "Don't be so dramatic." At that point, I was sick of her being late and her attitude. Being late, lying, and downplaying someone's feelings it's all rude. So I went to a nearby steakhouse and took a gift card without putting any money on it. I wrote $30 on the card and gave it to her a few days later, telling her it was a random gift for being my friend. A few days after that, I got a text from her asking if I was sure I activated the card. I told her yes, I was sure, and asked her why she was asking. She responded by saying she had gone to the restaurant with some friends without her purse and tried to use the gift card, but it wasn't working. It was at that point that I gave myself away by responding with, "Oops, I guess I was wrong, and it's not that big of a deal, and you're only $30 short." She immediately picked up on what I was doing, and I proceeded to receive a few angry texts about how embarrassed she was and how rude and disrespectful I was for doing that. All of this because I was just a few minutes late, blah, blah, blah. I simply responded with, "So you're saying that if I tell you one thing, then do another, and it directly impacts your life in a negative way, that it's disrespectful? And you get mad at me for it, and I downplay your feelings? That's rude? Am I to understand you correctly?" She didn't respond. I found out later that none of her friends were willing or able to cover her dinner, so she had to stay about 30 minutes later for her parents to rescue her. We didn't talk much after that. Hopefully she learned a valuable lesson. I sure had a great time teaching it. Well, I was wondering how you were going to connect a gift card like that to being late. But, yeah, I think you made your point very clear. It just seems like she's just very self-centered and just oblivious to her actions affecting other people. I hope this teaches her a lesson too. Do you think it's going to teach her a lesson, or is it just not going to be worth it? Let me know in the comments. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for causing my husband to miss his trip by not packing his bag despite him repeatedly asking? My husband travels for work every few months. He's irresponsible with time and counts on others to do stuff for him using the "I'm tired" excuse. He's the breadwinner, by the way. He had a business trip, and the day of the trip, he saw me carrying the laundry basket and said, "Hey, can you pack my bag?" I asked why he didn't do it the night before, and he said he was up all night playing Fortnite. I asked why he can't pack now, and he replied, "I gotta go catch up with the boys before I leave the country." I said no, and that he should do it himself. He asked why not, and I told him that I had to do the laundry, then cook for the kids, then help them with homework, then wash the rugs, then clean the messy bathroom, then the playing room, then work on my garden project. He stood there with his eyebrow lifted up as I went on. I suggested he stays home, pack his own bag, and help around till it was time for his trip. He didn't like my suggestion and complained about missing the boys and wanting to see them one last time and say goodbye before he leaves. He begged, but I said no. He then suddenly went inside the bedroom, I thought he was packing, grabbed his phone, keys, and jacket and rushed out. I just went about my day. It was 5 o'clock and he hadn't returned yet. I was concerned, thinking he had little time and still hadn't packed yet. He returned home at 6 and walked into the bedroom and started panicking, asking why his bag wasn't packed and ready yet. I told him he should ask himself since he stayed gone for hours. He said he was counting on me to pack his bag and even sent me a text hoping I'd eventually do it. I didn't see the text, and even if I did, I never agreed, so he shouldn't have assumed I was going to pack his bag for him. He got upset and started panicking. His stuff was all over the place, and he couldn't even find his papers. He was finally done and left. I then got an angry call from him asking if I was happy. I said, "Why? What happened?" And he said he missed his flight, just like I wanted. He came home and lost it, saying I cost him his business trip, which was supposed to earn him money and made him look unreliable and unprofessional, and compromised his work after I refused to do him this small favor and pack his deity-damn bag. I responded that he shouldn't have hung out with his buddies literally hours before his flight, but he said he believed that was done spitefully to get him to sit home with me. I was shocked. No words, just a shocked face. He called his friend, saying his trip didn't happen, then turned to me and said thanks to me, then proceeded to ask where they were going to meet for dinner. He told me, "No trip, meaning I'll be home for the next couple of weeks. Isn't that what you wanted? Great. We'll both now stay home and wallow in misery. God bless." Then I walked out. Am I the a-hole? He said I just caused him issues at work. Should I have packed his bag anyway? Why couldn't he be on the next flight? Because since he missed his flight that the company was paying for, he was required to pay for the other flight or not go. He refused to pay, saying it wasn't his fault anyway, and decided not to go. No, it's this guy all the way around. It's all this guy's fault. He is, I can imagine, doing a quick favor for someone if you're working things out, but it sounds like the wife is doing all the work. And she's got a bunch of stuff that's time sensitive that she has to do. This guy had plenty of opportunity to pack his own bag, spend a little time with the kids maybe before you go. I mean, it's not like you're going to see the guys never after this trip, is it? And you had the opportunity to make up for your work on the trip and pay for the next flight. Totally this guy's fault. And this woman totally not the a-hole. Story 2. I disgusted my food-thieving roommate. My roommate was stealing my food and not only admitting, but apparently bragging about it to my other roommates and calling me a pushover. I didn't want to participate in whatever they thought they were doing, especially since I'm moving away in 2 months, but I do want my food. Today they were sitting in the kitchen, chatting. I came in, took my meatballs from the fridge, and licked them one by one while maintaining eye contact with the thief. Then I licked several other items, spit into my milk. It's a waste of milk, but luckily there wasn't a lot. She looked utterly disgusted. Eventually she asked, "Are you mental?" I calmly replied, "I always do this. Didn't you know?" and left. I didn't know if she would stop, but her face of mixed disgust and horror makes it worth it. Edit. Wow, I posted hoping to at least make a couple of people chuckle at my small win. But I got so many funny comments and cool petty revenge stories from you guys. A lot of people are suggesting she sabotage her stuff. I don't want to. As long as my food is safe, that's enough. I won't leave any unsealed containers, though. And the current situation is, my food wasn't stolen today. I will update if something gets stolen again, but if you see any more updates, that means I won. Yeah, really. I mean, stealing your food. You usually don't see the person that steals your food. They'll usually just slink away. But, yeah, if they're bragging about it, yeah. I mean, and it's not like, unless you're allergic to your own germs, I wouldn't drink the milk, though. No, not the milk. No. Everything else I was fine with, especially if I'm going to eat it that day. Story 1. My 29 female, boyfriend 31 male of 2 years won't stop talking about his ex who left him in 2014. I reached out to her and she revealed a dark side to him, and he still attempts to contact her. 2 years ago, I started dating my boyfriend. We hit it off and he was nice, sweet, and we had an instant connection. A few months into the relationship, we talked about our exes and previous relationships we've had. I was married to a man, and it didn't work out, and the divorce was amicable. We were just too young and dumb to be married at the time. He spoke about his ex and told me she dumped him for some rich guy and how she was a shrew, a cheater, not loyal, and left him to be with a stranger instead of him. They were together for a year. Throughout the course of our relationship, he always mentions her. Every topic we have somehow turns into a conversation about his ex and how she's a bad person that would rather sleep around than be with him. He also kept mentioning that she didn't stay with him when he needed her the most and that she's a vile woman that's not to be trusted. Yesterday, I got fed up because it was 2 years of him constantly obsessing over his ex that left him 9 years ago. I then decided to do some good old social media creeping and potentially see what she's like. After years of talking about her, I got way too curious. I checked out her Facebook and Instagram. I saw that she's married, a mom of 2 with one being a newborn. She also has a college degree and she's traveled a lot. Her husband is very handsome, has his own business, and they live in a big house in the suburbs. I didn't see what vileness he was talking about, so I added her and messaged her. I introduced myself and asked if she was willing to share some information on her ex, my current boyfriend. To my surprise, she was nice, but I was not expecting what she would say about my boyfriend. She told me that the 1.5 years that she was with him was hell on earth. She told me how crazy and possessive he was, isolated her from friends and family, punched holes in her walls, bashed her head on many things, smashed her phones, belittled her, strangled her, bruised her arms and legs, deliberately opened the windows, turned on the fan, and stripped the blankets off her when it was below freezing. We're in Canada and our winters are brutal. Cheated on her, humiliated her publicly, harassed and threatened her family members, threatened self-unaliving if she contemplated leaving him, and would punch himself in the face and send her pictures. She sent me screenshots of his messages and pictures she took of her bruises. She finally got the courage to leave him, thanks to her friends who helped her devise an exit plan. She told me that she would save her money, keep her important ID at her friend's house, and she advised her landlord. She also secured a work permit in another country. He wasn't on the lease, so she terminated the lease early, to the understanding of her landlord. A few days before the lease ended, when he was at work, she left for the airport and left the country. The landlord threw his stuff outside. What's worse is that in the years he left her, he has not stopped attempting to contact her. She sent me screenshots of him sending nice messages to her, then a barrage of hateful messages when she didn't respond. He continued sending birthday messages, texting her mom, who eventually had to change her number. He also continued to add her on social media and email her apologizing to her and pretending to want to be friends with her. This year, behind my back, he sent her birthday messages and how it was nice to see her. Impossible because we don't live in the same place as her. She responded that he needed to stop messaging her because she's married, a mom, and really doesn't want him around. She sent me all of those, plus the multiple attempts of him trying to add her on social media. I have not spoken to him about it yet, but he's still talking about her a lot. I'm still in shock with what I found out about him, and even more shocked that he's still obsessed with her after all these years. From what I saw, she's a great woman. And I really think this woman just needs to get away. This guy is just being Jekyll and Hyde right here. He is just really a ticking time bomb. I mean, how long until this information, until this kind of behavior is focused on this woman? I really hope she got out of it. I hope there's some kind of a follow-up that says that. Story 2. A lady wanted me to put ice in my drink. I answered with stupid. I was chilling in a Cafe Rio yesterday, and I decided to go fill up my drink. So, as I was standing in line to fill up my drink, this lady and her maybe 6-year-old kid were also in the line. Right ahead of me, in fact. So the kid was about to go get his drink when his mom stopped him and told him to put ice in his drink first, because everyone gets ice in their drink. So he moved out of the way, and I went ahead to get my drink instead. I'm halfway through filling up my drink when this lady puts her hand in front of my face and directs my eyes toward her. And she's pointing at the ice machine. "Everyone puts ice in their drink," she told me as she was pointing at it. And apparently, I was tired as hell because I looked her straight in the eye, and without cracking any smile or emotion whatsoever, I told her, my bad, I'm allergic to ice." She had this shocked and confused expression. Then she and her kid just went on their merry way. I filled up my drink and sat back down, and after looking at my phone for a few minutes, I looked up to see her real angry, arguing with a random worker, pointing at me. Honestly, I decided it wasn't worth it, and seeing as I was finished eating, I just threw my stuff away and bounced. I woke up this morning thinking, what the hell even was that? Who becomes the ice sheriff like that? Who thinks, everyone gets ice? That's not a prerequisite. In fact, if it's cold enough and you're going to drink it right away, you probably don't need ice. Why? I mean, putting their hand in front of your face, that's really just, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Oh, you're getting close though.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 3. My mother kicked me out? Have fun throwing out your pillow. So my, 18 female, mother, 50-something female, kicked me out today because I wouldn't let her financially take advantage of me. She told me to get out and take nothing with me. Then she left. I'm really fortunate that one of my friends lives in the same building as me, so we were able to take everything I owned in about 3 hours. I've been seeing this coming for a while, so most of my things were already packed away. Now, a little context for my friend. She, bless her heart, has the worst body odor I've ever smelled. It's bad. Like never completely coming out of the fabric bad. And for the past 3 hours, we have been running up and down 2 flights of stairs carrying heavy boxes. So as we sit on the couch, resting and taking the place in before we never return, I allow myself one petty thought. I grab my mother's pillow and hand it to my friend. She understood the assignment. That pillow goes under her armpits, her back, her chest, anywhere it can soak up 3 hours worth of sweat. That pillow sees hell. We put the pillow back in its place and leave. Now, I don't know if she actually meant for me to leave or not, but when she gets home and sees my room empty, I hope she regrets chasing away the last person who cared for her. And when she gets in bed and lays her head down on the pillow, I hope she cries. If the odor is that bad, I'd probably cry too. And yeah, really, you're just expecting this person, just because she's your offspring, to just hand over the paycheck? I mean, no. I mean, it sounds like she's kind of lazy. Do you think she deserved getting the BO pillow? What do you think?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.